You are now watching The Connectors.
You are now watching The Connectors.
You are now watching The Connectors.
You're watching The Connectors.
You're watching The Connectors.
Welcome to The Connectors. This is Brian Bernstein here with Nick Williams and Jeremy Straub, and we're going to talk about his firm, Coastal Wealth Management, and see what we can learn. So Jeremy, tell us about your background, where you're from, and how you got into the business.
Sure. I got into business about 17 years ago. Worked with a Fortune 500 company for 15 years. Moved up to an executive in the wealth management space. I actually started in the career, I was debating on what to do. I wanted to do something that I can help people, and I started looking into Peace Corps and trying to decide what I want to do, and somebody came to me about financial advice, and they said, to be a good financial advisor, you need to have the mind of a capitalist, but the heart of a social worker. And that kind of resonated with me. I'm like, all right, I could be an entrepreneur, I could be running a business, but I also can make a difference in helping people, and that's played out pretty well in the last 17 years. So then a couple years ago, though, I left the corporate game and went off and started my own firm, which is Coastal Wealth.
So talk to us about that transition and tell us a little about what went into going on your own and hiring and building it up.
Yeah, scary endeavor, right? If you're leaving a consistent income, you got a good career path, positioned well with inside a company, and to go off on your own is one of those ones where I always had a desire to do it, and it just was a matter of getting that push and that gumption to be able to do it. I think the hardest part was making the decision. After that, you just kind of get to work. Yeah. It's just getting over that initial fear factor of not having that consistent paycheck and putting up your money to be able to make something happen.
What got you over that?
Some reason this picture of an hourglass got in my head, right? and I just thought of time going through. And it was one of those ones where I saw myself just working to be, let's call it CEO, president. I don't know if I would have got there or not, but of a Fortune 500 company. And I'm going, okay, is that what I really want in life? And in my mind, I always really wanted to build a business on my own and really feel like I can and leave a legacy with the family and control my own destiny. And it got to a point where I'm on the sand's moving down that hourglass. Am I ready to go take the leap? And with the support of my wife and actually family and that, and a couple of really good friends in talking through what I was thinking about, I think the support mechanisms around me encouraged me to do it. And then it was a strong business plan afterwards.
So tell us about the business plan, assets under management, how many professionals you have.
Yep. So we have 191 advisors throughout the state of Florida. The business has multiple different, I would call segments. We do holistic financial planning. So I have advisors that just do retirement services for small businesses. I have other ones that just do group benefits. I have other ones that just do executive comp inside businesses. I have other ones that do strict asset management, trading bonds. We have all different segments going through. It depends on what the client is looking for. A little bit different than just a straight asset company that's managing money on that part. But we're about $4 billion.
$4 billion in AUM.
Yep.
How long did it take to accumulate $4 billion, and kind of what's the learning curve as you're accumulating assets like that?
So I was fortunate enough, I bought an existing business, which made a difference on it. So that's helped out. I'm getting the learning curve going. If I would have done that in 2 years, that would have been nice. No, I bought an existing business, which allowed me to scale it faster, obviously having a base to work from.
And those businesses trade at like 1 times assets, or
1 to 3 times,
3
depending on how you really start to break down the business and can negotiate.
And I guess when you're in the business, you kind of know how to look for a practice that's being sold for generational reasons or whatever.
Yeah, so in my previous role, the existing company, I bought a lot of businesses with them, right? So we bought a lot of practices and wealth management firms. So I got a pretty good sense of valuations. I got a pretty good sense of how to be able to find opportunities and be able to negotiate them.
Were there did you have to go through a lot of deals before you found this opportunity, or was it one of the earlier ones you came across?
No. I've been watching for years and keeping my eyes and ears out, but it had to be a really good scenario. And there was personal pieces. I was in California. I was living in Southern Cal, which I love. California's amazing. But the wife's family's from here. I had a newborn, and I would leave on Sunday. I'd come back Thursday night in my role that I was in previously. And so to be able to be closer to family with the work schedule, as an entrepreneur, it was a better personal lifestyle fit too. So I looked for a business here in Florida.
And then were there a lot of like post-acquisition integration issues, first 90-day stuff you had to deal with? And what advice can you give our audience if you are buying a business as kind of your avenue into entrepreneurship? How do you handle that first 90 days?
So it's still a learning curve, and it's still a matter of changes and adaptations going through even a couple years later. But your first 90 days, what I always looked at when acquiring a business is I feel like I'm going on a listening tour more than I am going and shaking up and making changes. And I'm trying to get a feel for that existing business of all the pieces that are running in it from what I couldn't get out of doing the valuation, right? And so if you have a large organization with a lot of people, you don't want to just go in and shake up the culture unless there's a real financial need to be able to do that. You want that change to happen quickly but feel slow for the people that are there. And so that first 90 days, I met with every single individual one-on-one at any level they were in to get a sense of job descriptions, job roles, what they do, how they came to the career, what they thought of the company, so I can really make a good evaluation of where I needed to make changes.
So, one of the things Nick and I were talking about before you came on the show is your business has really changed in terms of the demographics that it interacts with. Specifically, our generation, millennials, have different financial needs, and they act differently financially than our parents did.
Yep.
What has your experience been with that? From everything from home ownership to retirement planning to asset allocation.
Yep. Anecdotally, the millennials end up being better savers than a lot of the older generations on that part. And I think that they saw with 2008 what happened to their parents, and I think it kind of freaked them out a little bit. And so they're more frugal than I expected on that part. But how they actually want to work with an advisor has completely changed relative beforehand. So you're not going into an advisor office from 9 to 5, waiting in the waiting room, sitting down with a financial advisor and going through it. They want to work when and how they typically work and interact with other businesses, right? So in the financial and the fintech side, you got robo-advice that's pretty big right now with Betterment, Wealthfront, that have made investing in the beginning stages relatively easy. And so millennials want to be able to do the one-click app to be able to start saving. But what's happening, even with those firms, is they're starting to hire personal financial advisors because they're realizing when it comes to money and making financial decisions, you still want someone to help you see through it, and you feel like it's individualized, where it's not scalable that they can AI out. They want to know, hey, I'm trying to decide if I should buy a car or lease it. I'm trying to decide if I should buy the home or should I rent longer. And they want to start talking through these financial decisions. So what's happening is what can be automated, portfolio management, asset allocation, that's happening. The millennials are okay with that. But what they're looking for still is direction and advice in their life and in their financial decisions. And so you're seeing it move from, I just pick investments, or I just will help you pick your group benefits or sell insurance, to let me navigate what you're trying to do with your life financially and figure out what parts are going to be moving. Now, it's also changed the products heavy too. So even just a lot of times so we just talked about the asset management side. On the insurance side, somebody starts a family, they want to, buy life insurance. The idea of going to take blood, doing urine, waiting a month and a half doesn't work. So a lot of the insurance companies that we work with and went through it, they've started algorithmic underwriting, which is basically they'll do big data and take a look and go, okay, you stop at a gas station and you spend $15 at the gas station inside every time you go.
There's a cigarette purchase.
So now all of a sudden you don't have to go take the blood to be able to do it because you can take big data and be able to start doing it. So now you can start coming out and being able to make that process of buying insurance, which stops millennials from doing it even with the family because there's too many steps, and it pulls that off the table. So that's the big things we're seeing with the millennial side.
So to piggyback off of that, that's very interesting that, that industry has how that industry utilizes technologies using data in order to reach the millennials. Now, as it pertains to millennials outside of course, starting a family and things of that sort, them starting a business, specifically in the tech world, what are some of the things that Coastal are doing to help that specific tech community and to encourage them to want to work with groups such as yourself?
So particularly in the tech community or people that are doing startups, the idea of starting to save money doesn't compute, right? So they're in the process of putting all their money into their startup and taking care of their fixed expenses. And the best advice that I can have for them is to live frugally. Where we start playing a part in that aspect is looking at their business and helping them scale their business in a way to do it. So for example, you start hiring employees, you don't want to give up equity. How do you keep those employees? It's benefits. So we'll start helping them set up a different type of retirement accounts, 401k or something like that. Help them start with their group benefits, and then it moves on to executive comp and starting to put in things that keep your top executives there, hopefully with not having to give up too much equity. What's some other options you have so you as the owner can be able to keep as much equity as you can. And then from there we start working with them, then the liquidity events start to happen, or they actually start making good income and they're able to take some money off the table. That's where the asset management comes aside. So we've had to change our approach going, we know that this is a community that we want to work with and serve. We know that a lot of the big financial institutions, if you don't have $250,000, $1 million to go invest, I don't want to talk to you. And so you're having a lot of these startups not have anybody to guide them from a financial perspective. And so we start doing it from a business part and then move into the personal side when appropriate.
On that business side, when they are in a position where they're 6 months away from having a liquidity event or evaluating whether it's a equity recap, debt recap, sale of a minority or majority sale of the business or an entire sale of the business, do you guys get involved at that stage and help them with advice?
Yes. So I call it my advanced markets team. My advanced markets team is a number of JDs, LLMs that handle complex situations for individuals, typically business owners. I mean, we will do on the estate side too, but typically business owners, in helping them be able to make good decisions. And so, yeah, at that part, a lot of times, most of the people around them have a vested interest in the deal that they're getting advice from, and they're looking from someone else. And they're not finding that typically from a wealth management company because they're looking to give me the cash afterwards once you get the liquidity event. So we do that from a financial planning perspective and charge a fee for advice to be able to help provide that financial guidance you need in making those life decisions.
Is that an active part of the business?
It is. It's actually a part that we're building out more right now because we started building it out and I didn't think it would catch on, honestly, as much as it did. But the level of financial planning fees and listen, South Florida is a great entrepreneurial place, right? I mean, you just have that built into the DNA, and you have a lot of people out there that are looking for a partner in helping them understand all the different nuances of their financial life, the real estate, the businesses, the equity here, their assets on the side, and going, how does this all fit together? I got like 15 different professionals, and I feel like nobody's working at looking at the whole picture.
No one's the coach for the team.
No one's looking at the coach. And so where I found a gap was, that's typically where the family office comes in, right? Somebody wants a single family office or a multifamily office. But the level of wealth you need to be able to have that, you need to have
like $400 million.
400 million, and maybe you can get to 50, 70 million if you're a multifamily office, right? How can I provide that for the people that might have that money, but they're not liquid like that right now? And the way we do that is a fee for advice on financial planning, where I still have all those departments and professionals to do it, or we have partners with different
It
people.
scales over multiple individuals.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, the business model per se, if we're going through it, is let me get with the tech companies starting out and helping them guide their business owner issues, right? Just the group benefits, their own personal assets, executive comp, build relationships with them long term, and then when they're ready and getting closer to those liquidity events, we have the financial planning advice to support them on that side. And then at the end of this liquidity event, if the assets do come, we have partnerships with trust companies or ourselves to be able to pick up the asset management.
Do you see that as a trend within the wealth management industry, that a lot of these wealth management groups are going after these tech companies? Like I always related to, me as a former athlete. It's almost like the gold rush when a guy's in college, and a potential opportunity of going to the next level, playing professional. These wealth management groups, of course, target these athletes. Do you look at it at the market as far as, is it trending that way? Wealth management groups, are they locked in and going after these younger companies in the tech industry that, the potential opportunity of landing a unicorn, if you will?
It's for the wealth management companies, the patience isn't as there much.
Yeah.
So you have an individual advisor. Am I going to sit? I might build a light relationship with you for 3, 4, 5 years, hoping that liquidity events come. But you know how rare the unicorns are, right?
Yeah,
so
very rare.
for you, for all those relationships to be able to do it, as individual advisors or as the wealth management firms, it's hard to make that bet for the long term.
Yeah.
And so we've been able to be their partner over the time period is there's still services we could provide early on in that startup to build the relationship up, where it makes sense for us to be able to partner up and work with you, where we can truly give you financial advice opposed to being your friend for 5 years until you got some money.
Yeah.
You go get some money then.
So, whether it's millennials broadly or entrepreneurs in illiquid situations or right about at liquidity generally, what's the best and most actionable advice you have from your experience that we can give the audience?
For ones that are close to the liquidity or not?
Both.
Okay. I think for millennials in general, whether it's a startup or you're, W-2 employee and working and on your own, it's to live below your means and make sure you don't stretch yourself and build yourself, and I'm going real basic, right? Build yourself a cash reserve that if something does happen, you're okay, that you don't tap into at that point. That'd be a starting point for someone just starting out. No debt, live below your means, and build a cash reserve. For ones that are actually getting closer to liquidity event, at that point, I would say start interviewing for financial professionals, because what you don't want to have happen is as soon as you hit the liquidity event, people are going to be coming to you nonstop, and you're going to be having to make decisions on what you want to do with your money. I would try to find a trusted advisor that you can test out for a year or two before that happens, to make sure that that's the person you want be directing you when you actually make the decision. That would be my recommendation on it.
And how do you interview for a financial planner?
There's a lot of good material out there. Typically what you're looking for from a financial planner is the CFP designation is the big designation that people look at. So you have a CFA for Chartered Financial Analyst, that's a portfolio guy. That's the analyst ripping apart a portfolio. You have a CPA, that's the accountant. A CFP is the same level of designation in the financial planning world. That's a good filter to do it. If you go to the CFP website, they'll be able to give you a number of questions to ask for when looking for a planner. But essentially, from my perspective, you want to find someone that is willing to do it for a fee, because at some point somebody has to figure out how to make their money, right? So if you're not paying them for advice, then they're going to try to sell you products to be able to do that.
Jeremy, just want to thank you for coming on and reiterate what I think we learned today, which is 1, pick a financial planner that works on a fee-based basis, because anyone that's working for free probably isn't giving you the depth of service that you need. Second, I think for me the takeaway was make sure they have a team that has specialists on it. I think I got from you that it's very important that you measure against all of your assets, your KPIs, and see how you're tracking towards your goals. And most importantly, it's something that you hear for years, but it seems like universal truth. Live below your means, and always make sure you have a safety net for emergencies or opportunities, like in your case when you bought your practice. Just want to thank you again so much for coming on. This is a great conversation.
You got it. I enjoyed it.
We did too.
Thank you.
You got it.